Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, March 26, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern. Everything has its wonders, even darkness and silence. And I learn whatever state I may be in, therein to be content, Helen Keller. There's a mental perspective on this planet. There's the teachings and, the different thoughts from different people. Poverty is a choice that people make every day, whether they are aware of it or not. It's the choice to be uncreative, feel limited in resources, think inside the box, feel disconnected from God, smaller than life, deeply powerless, incapable of receiving love, and not believe that anything is possible. That's poverty thinking. Poverty thinking is a dis-ease and an unconscious choice that is based on the ignorance of our true divine manifesting power. This unawareness is the one deciding factor as to whether someone continues to remain broke and struggling for another year or starts to shift their energy into receiving a new online income next week or any form. The moment you choose to believe in any poverty-based thought, you start thinking more small, limited, and negative thoughts about this life. It has a snowball effect to it. It doesn't mean that we're aware of it. It can be unconscious and unawareness. Where you begin to attract more limiting thoughts based on the misunderstanding that this universe is not an infinite, all-loving, powerful playground. When negative thinking becomes your habit, you begin to invent thoughts to support your own poverty-minded thoughts. The repetitive cycle of poverty thinking is a social dis-ease that festers and feeds upon itself. Every time we identify with the poverty mindset and another person who thinks there is not enough, we slowly inherit and mirror their dis-ease. By accepting the limiting beliefs of others, we forget our original abundant nature and stop realizing that who we really are all-powerful manifesting beings. The moment we can understand the foundational lie that poverty is based on and take full responsibility for the suffering we are creating through our choices, then we can begin choosing a new path and acting from an abundant manifesting mindset to create a new world. It's good to know that poverty thinking is not our original nature. Our real inherent nature has no boundaries or limitations on what is possible and what isn't. This original abundant mind is something we were all born with. It is rooted in knowing that we are all absolutely loved, free, and totally abundant. Poverty consciousness is a limiting mindset that was inherited by your community in order to be accepted, fit in, and welcomed into the social norm. We often would rather be accepted by others than be seen as an outcast who is believing they are bigger, better, and richer. If your friends, family, and community never had any poverty thoughts on any level, you wouldn't have it either. You would only know how to be creative in ways where you'd think anything is possible, and know deep down that abundance was your birthright. Every one of us deserved the best of everything. When you become the deepest valley of reception, and the highest peaks of consciousness can be given to you. Only a valley can receive a peak. Osho. Now, you may come across people who are struggling financially. There is one thing they have in common. They all continuously choose to support their old limiting thoughts and negative beliefs around money, rather than actually doing something radically different and exciting to move through them. People live and hide underneath their excuses. They become cowards to discovering their real power, hiding behind their pride, rather than revealing and healing their feelings of fear, self-judgment, and financial intolerance. Each time their mind unconsciously creates this pattern of choosing a desperate, needy response to life. This universe has to respond accordingly, manifesting a similar situation. The habit becomes so natural that they have to do something very radical to alleviate this perpetual addictive state of financial frustration. They have to accept the fact that they are a powerful manifesting being who has totally stopped following their old excuses and are now choosing to live a life that is continuously moving through the fear. Remember, the impoverished mindset is one that continuously resists fear, controlling the emotions and creating distractions so they do not have to feel their fear. This type of controlling energy tends to say no to life, denying new ideas, opportunities, and people. It abides in a feeling there is never enough to go around, and we must compete, suck it up, and live a life of compromise if we are to survive. It thinks you must stick to doing your duty, live in obligations, always work hard, struggle to survive, and not think too big just so we don't upset others. It's in this very uncreative approach to this life that people escape from their true power and get to be irresponsible for their real life purpose, which is to know themselves as the divine, all-powerful, manifesting being they truly are. Poverty thinking is the one dis-ease that can completely destroy the great potential of love and joy your life contains. People continue choosing to play small, helpless, lazy, abandoned, unloved, and unwanted because there's nothing they can do about it, and it is their destiny. You ever heard that? They say there's nothing they can do about it because it's their destiny. It's actually a very selfish, self-absorbed way to live, never considering how to help out others and thinking only of yourself and how your desires, wants, and needs are not quite fully met. Poverty consciousness is perhaps the most unconscious, self-destructive, and addictive pattern that people have, which will ruin their chances of enjoying their lives. The poverty mindset can be brilliant in the way that it will rationalize things, thinking that by consuming fewer resources, we are thus helping the world out and saving our planet. By spending less money, we become more wealthy and less dependent on money or the world for our survival. Of course, there is a grain of truth in everything, and the best path is to create a world of total sustainability within a conscious, loving lifestyle. Yet the intention of holding back out of fear and not fully honoring your true manifesting power is the greatest loss of all. If and when you're constantly holding tight onto money, you're creating struggle and strive within yourself and always feeling that you don't have enough. This manifests in many forms. One will show up as your inability to contribute your full, unlimited, unbounded joy to your community. You cannot show up for a wild, free, abundant, loving life purpose if you are holding tight onto anything and living in fear on any level. The feeling of being poor is so terrifying for some people that every thought and action becomes about avoiding that experience. Many people in this world choose to become insanely rich based on their deepest fear of being broke. This avoidance, however, morphs into another type of poverty consciousness, as it never allows the mind to relax and rest in its divine original state. Any type of non-relaxed, fear-based thinking is going to have a feeling of poverty connected to it on some level. Be aware that poverty consciousness is a very sneaky beast, and it can show up in your life in a large variety of forms. It may be as obvious as feeling you don't have enough money to pay your rent each month, the paranoia that someone may rip you off, the idea that there is only one soulmate in the world for you, or the idea that you have to eat everything on your dinner plate. Even if you're not hungry, just know that if any thought is formed out of fear, it is based on some level of poverty thinking. The first step to transcending poverty consciousness is to find out exactly where it is showing up in your life and in your thinking. It is only through the awareness of these negative thoughts that you can liberate your mind from repeating them. The moment a limiting thought flows through the brain, you must step back from it, see it from a distance, and don't emotionally buy into the story that accompanies it. When you are able to identify exactly where, when, and how you emotionally fall into your poverty-stricken belief system, then you have a chance at moving beyond it. Yet, you must keep a very close, watchful eye on poverty thinking if you're ever going to get beyond it. When you can see how you justify being stuck, poor, or happily struggling, then you'll be able to find a way to invent a new story about how good it feels to no longer live in a world filled with excuses. People often tell themselves that it's easier to remain stuck in just having enough to survive than to own up to the fact that they are super powerful manifesting beings who can have anything they desire. Isn't that ironic? People often tell themselves that it's easier to remain stuck in just having enough to survive than to own up to the fact that they are super powerful manifesting beings who can have anything they desire. Now, if and when they owned that empowering thought, it would either mean their whole life was some sort of failure, or they were a completely stupid and ignorant person. So people make up all sorts of wonderful feel-good stories about their poverty, saying that it's more holy to be poor, or it's not okay to take too much. And this takes up their energy for remembering we have an infinite supply of creativity, love, energy, and consciousness available. These are the ingredients that actually create money. Living in poverty consciousness is living a lie, based on deep denial of knowing the magical manifesting potential energy inside you. The consequences of continuing to believe in such a deep misunderstanding are the experiences of struggle, pain, desperation, and lack. The more money you feel you don't have, the more busy you become to fulfill this need. Poverty thinking creates an energetic distraction from knowing your intimate connection with the God source. The mind is obsessed with being right, and for it to admit how it's choosing each day to remain stuck, manifesting more poverty-stricken situations would completely destroy it. No matter how rich or poor you are, even if you're a gazillionaire, the ego mind will be addicted to wanting more. You see it every day, don't you? No matter how rich or poor you are, even if you're a gazillionaire, the ego mind will be addicted to wanting more. It will always tell you that you need more, and no matter how hard you try, you can never completely satisfy the demanding, desiring ego. Its purpose is wanting, 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 and wanting more wanting. This incessant wanting creates the feeling of poverty. So it's important to remember that our ego is not designed to know what true satisfaction is. This is the purpose of the soul and discovering your spiritual nature. The mind doesn't have the time to be curious about this divinity inside you. It wants you to believe it's a lie and that you need more stuff if you ever want to be happy. This lie that more things equals a better life is very deep, and if accepted over time, it may cause you to lose sight of your source of true happiness, which is in your life purpose and spiritual nature. All the greatest treasures are hidden behind that which we wouldn't want to be with. You are this ultimate mischief and brilliance. All the wisdom, compassion, and treasure is within. So where are you going to hide it? Pamela Wilson. To completely break away from poverty consciousness, you simply have to choose to commit your life to a new way of being. You have to choose to totally refrain and retrain your brain to believe that anything is possible, and trust that this universe is your friend who is always looking out for you. You have to want to believe that you are naturally a powerful manifester, and this world is your manifesting playground. Perhaps the most hidden secret to transcending poverty consciousness is also the most powerful one, which is this. Ultimately, when we can truly relax into the core of our worst feelings of poverty, the peace found in that relaxation contains an unstoppable resource of abundance, love, healing, and creativity inside it. It is only through facing our fear that we can be released from it. What happens is we find a state of total emptiness inside that also contains our greatest fullness. We do nothing and merge with everything. By looking deep inside ourselves and feeling acceptance of our spiritual nature, we can discover this unlimited power to manifest anything we can imagine. It comes down to dropping out of the head and into our heart. That we finally relax and discover the natural state of abundance inside. The heart contains the greatest freedom that is truly freeing and life-enriching. The feeling of great abundance naturally comes when you live from the heart and abide in feelings of gratitude that are already there. Check it out. See for yourself. Imagine what would your week be like if and when you lived from your heart and only practice gratitude for the life you already have. It's first through accepting the idea that you are enough, which can later manifest into the experience of having enough. If you're thinking for 1 minute about what you don't have, it means you've missed 60 seconds of feeling loved, rich, and abundant about what you do have. Poverty thinking is a cheap way of getting scraps of love, which ultimately end up costing everyone in the end. It can be very enticing to stay in as other people around you don't want to leave their habits and thus will give you tons of extra sympathy when you're broke and struggling in the dirt with them. It's all about believing in the lie that you are not an all-powerful manifesting being that creates all suffering. This lie is the greatest sin, if you want to call it a sin, the greatest missing of the target one can ever make. It is the original missed mark of mankind, and it is causing you to miss out on the deep source of joy that is at the core of your being. Thoughts are thoughts. They're just thoughts, right? But on the flip side, they're super powerful in the event you choose to bring them in. Give them attention. Saturate them with power. Bring them into reality and experience them. And anybody, because this isn't a race. So when you look at it, you say, wait a minute, I'm going to start concentrating, focus on deep gratitude. I'm going to start focusing on what I'm grateful for 24/7. And after a while, being in gratitude, you'll find that you'll see and experience that it will turn into automatic. You won't be having a manual shift with it. It'll be automatic. You will stay more and more and more in deep eternal gratitude for the very moment, for the very now moment. What you're grateful for. You're grateful for you. You're grateful for the body that you're in. You're grateful for the legs that carry you. Now, people have heard this, for years and years and years. But it's not the head. It's not the ego. And most people embrace it. They have the ego. And eventually, they just won't be grateful anymore. They'll get sidetracked or off in a different direction, and it'll completely change things. It'll rearrange them, right? And so they're back into the not thinking about what they're grateful for. They're only thinking about what they're ungrateful for, things that they take for granted. I mean, just traveling somewhere for granted. Being able to breathe in the air for granted. taking your hands for granted, your voice for granted, every bodily function for granted. The only time we'll comment on bodily functions is when we don't like what's happening with the body, right? That's when we give attention. But as long as the body's not doing anything to cause us to draw our attention to it, then we just kind of skip to the list. But that's all about programming. We're at a stage point, humanity, where we're going to choose to take the enlightened route. Right? It's like you're walking, right? You're just walking along, and you see these signs. And one sign says, make a U and go back to the outside, like you were. Go out and look for something out there that's going to give you happiness and fun and joy and everything forever. And you'll say, those are just say that we've been there. We've all been there. But there are some of us that will say, I've done that, and I'm deeply grateful for that. But now, this sign says, go within, stay within, be in the now. Stay in deep eternal gratitude 24/7. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with oneself at all times. You choose that one. You choose it. Because why? Because we've already done the trip in this endless journey with being outside of ourselves. We have no idea how many lifetimes, a lot of them, being outside of ourselves. Not giving our souls a chance of any attention, embrace, love. Not meeting with our God. And so, but that's awareness. Not a negative. Just saying, okay, so done this. Now I'm going to do this. And you don't know where it's going to take you. None of us do. But we decide to do it because it's there for us. The universe has put it there. So we don't. It's not like you're being pushed either, at all. You're not being rushed, hurried, pushed, pressured, nothing. Enticed, seduced. You come to that realization. It's pretty logical, and it's not complicated. We've all at times said, we've been there, done that. That's great. Okay, did you learn anything? Learned a lot. Learned a whole heck of a lot from being there. But now I'm going to take this route. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm not going to leave it or get frustrated with it and angry with it. I'm diving right in. And it's making these choices that only you can make. Some people may sit there and say, oh, I don't know. It feels cushy warm over here, being in poverty consciousness, as most of the people on the planet are. I don't know if I care to leave that. I've been in this cushy area for years, my whole life. And I'm not sure if I don't know if I should go within. Mostly it's fear of the unknown. But the whole point of it is that you can sit there and you say to yourself, I'm the master. And this is through the heart mind, not the ego mind. I am the master of everything that I am. Which means you've accepted the fact that you are the God, not the body. And then you say to yourself, well, I would rather travel, and the body's the vehicle. And I am the master and commander, which covers the whole gambit. And then you determine, I believe that I want to choose that I'm a supremely powerful master manifester. Bottom line. But here's the challenge. You've been in that mode forever. You were pre-programmed by your parents, siblings, friends, enemies, neighbors, strangers, acquaintances throughout your life. So you believe and think a certain way because of all of those thoughts that aren't yours for years and years and years. And then you have the ego mind sitting there front and center, believing it's the master over you. And it directs you and guides you. And for the most part, it has with this civilization. And then someone or somebody or people may say, how do you know that? Look around you. Do you believe there would be conflict on this planet? Nope. In the event the ego mind was not front and center, that it was the servant and not the master. Because it makes a great servant and a horrible master. So you look around, would there be conflict? There wouldn't be conflict. Would you hate people? No. Would you vie for destruction or harming anything? No. Would you worry, stress, and fear about how others think or feel about you? No. Would there be any wars on this planet? No. Zero. Zilcho. Would there be unification? Absolutely. People would work together. Because the ego mind, you got to, the ego mind front center, you got to compete, you got to win, you've got to control, you've got to oversee, you've got to have the power over all of it. Right? And then in that, you're suffering all along, worried, stressing, and fearing from time to time. Different variances and degrees, we all worry, stress, and fear. So this, this decision, it's almost like you're sitting at a table, right? And you got your favorite dessert, which is your warm comfort zone that you've had your whole life, mostly, right? Even though it's the ego mind's in charge of you. And you love this dessert. You had it before, more than once. And then over here is the journey within. And it's all unknown. You have no clue. See, you don't know what the dessert is going to be with the unknown. But over here in your comfort zone, you got it down pat because you've been there so long. You don't do anything to upset it, though. You notice that? Most of us do not do anything to upset the apple cart. We might fringe it at times. We might push it a little bit. But for the most part, we kind of boomerang back into that comfort zone. We don't care to upset the apple cart. You've heard that term before, right? Now, let's not upset everything. So what we do is we experience this kind of a little tug. Curiosity, because we're all curious beings. So we get this little tug pulls at us. Come on, come outside of your comfort zone. Take this leap. It'll change everything. That's the fear. That's what gets everybody in their gut. It'll change everything. But you don't know what it's going to change. See, because you don't have any expectations or attachments because it's the unknown. Now, you could sit there and fret and say, well, I have no idea what's going to happen or what's going to be. I take this step in this direction, which I'm over here in this comfort zone, and I love my comfort zone, and I love my suffering. Okay? So this over here, totally foreign to me. But this is, as we even age, it is an absolute studied fact. The older we get, the more chance, the more risk we should take. But we don't. We do the opposite. We become more sedentary, more withdrawn, more non-interactive, and less active. But it's when you've gained enough knowledge, usually in later years, is when you're the most effective, because you can kind of know. Some people say, I don't know how much longer I have. 85 years old, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to take this risk, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. You see what we do? We cogitate. We're in this bubble, and it's not like it's a fault or a negative. It's how we've been programmed. So most of us, not all of us, but most of us are in this bubble. And we stay there. Wave at people. It's clear. You can see through it, right? And every now and then someone will come into your bubble. And it's comfortable because they believe the way you do. They like to be in a comfort zone. They don't like to take risks. Have you ever heard that people say, oh, they don't like to take risks? No, not for me. Not for me. I'm perfectly happy exactly where I'm at. Well, that's good. That's not negative either. But if you stay exactly where you're at, you're never going to go anywhere. Anywhere. So it's us knowing. It's us knowing. It's us knowing ourselves enough, being aware, being conscious that we're conscious, being in deep gratitude, being gentle, kind, generous, and humble with ourselves at all times, practice being in the now, the breath. One of the most powerful tools that comes with this body, the breath. I'm not saying that it's real easy. It's simple, but it's not easy because of the habit of being in the comfort zone. And it's not like you have to do drastic stuff to pull yourself out of the comfort zone. It's just little steps here and there. And then eventually you say, you know what, I'm going to go for broke and I'm going to do this. And the flip side to everything is things that you don't really look at until the flip side hits you. I mean, you could all of a sudden have billions of dollars, and then that's wonderful and great, but then you flip it over and you say, now I have all these responsibilities. I have to direct this, manage this, be secure about this, be careful about that. And these are all things that you're not used to doing because you've never had that amount of wealth. The ego mind's like, this is how the ego mind works. Afraid of living, afraid of dying. Afraid of poverty, afraid of wealth. Afraid of love. Afraid of hate. It's just a constant being afraid of everything. Afraid of success. Afraid of failure. And we all do it. And we're in this fear circle for ourselves. And ego mind will say, well, you don't care to do that. And you get that weird feeling, say, yeah, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then that passes by. And then something else comes in, similar, better. Not going to. If it hits you 3 times in anything that it is, grab it. Seriously, no matter how you feel. If it shows up at least 3 times in the course of a day or a week, then the universe is saying, hey, you asked for this. I'm giving it to you. Take the shot. Embrace it. Go with it. Run with it. Don't belabor. Don't if, hem, and haw, but do it. Because how long do you think you're going to be in that body? It's true. It's like people that have a near-death experience. And when you talk to them, they go, it changed my whole life. How did it change your life? I take risks now. I do things that I would have never done had I not had an NDE, this life after death experience. And they kind of sit there and say, so that's my life is anything that it was then. It's a lot more. I trust in the God that I am. I know that I'm not this body. I know that I am the God within it. And I know that this body could end tomorrow. And instead of leaving the body and then saying, oh, I wish I would have done this, and I wish I would have done that, and I wish I would have done this, and why didn't I do that, and why didn't I do this? Because most of us are asleep. And that's not negative either. It's just at this moment, no matter how many lifetimes, in this lifetime, some people are asleep. They're asleep. They're not going to, miraculously wake up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, knowing all the stuff that's going on. And remember something. This is a play that's orchestrated. What is the play? The play is to make you believe that you're in it and not sitting outside of it, watching it. That's the play. You see, ego mind wants you in that play. And a lot of people are seduced into the play. So then they embrace it and they believe that it's actually happening. One of the biggest things happening on this planet at this very moment is that humanity is being pushed to a level of extinction. Okay? You can research this all you want. You will find that any species of any life form that has been threatened to extinction evolves. In most cases, it will evolve through natural selection and extinction, not man-made created. And even if it is man-made created, we decide, we make the choice. Do we as a species want to continue, move forward, expand, and flourish, or do we care to just end it? And I believe that the majority of the people on this planet would think twice about it and say, oh no, we have a lot more to do as a species, and our choice is to embrace our existence and to advance and evolve. And that's what's happening. You're witnessing the evolution of this civilization. And when it's all said and done, we will embrace it. Because you remember and you say to yourself, no matter what's going on around you, this too shall pass. And it does. And this is why we emphasize so much of focusing on the now, right, within, and determining the life you wish to live. Focusing on the life you wish to live. And if you, and here's the slip up that many make, they kind of go tippy-toe back over to what? They open the door, they go in, oh, this is so familiar. And they focus on what they don't want. You could listen to anybody's conversation. Guaranteed. During those conversations, they're going to see it. They say at least one time, I don't want this, or I don't want that. I don't want this to happen. I really don't care. I don't want this, and I don't want that. They'll use those words, whatever the subject may be. Unfortunately for them, they do not know. As soon as they send that out, the universe will give them more of what they don't want. Some people believe that if they say they don't want money, they're going to get money. They say, well, they don't need the money. They don't need to have a lot of money. They don't need that much. And they're hoping, in the back end, the background, that they'll get a lot of money. And they don't. But when you say to yourself, this is what I want for me, and it's You cannot have one little doubt. Not one. Not before, not during, or after your request. You have one smidgen of a doubt, you know what's going to happen? It's going to go away. Go away. That's how sure, not through the ego mind, but through the heart mind, that you are. You surrender. You have no expectations or attachments. You just let it flow. You're the only one who can do that. No one else can do it for you. You just let it flow. And you'll be really surprised. And I don't know of many people that don't like surprises. Some don't like surprises because they're too embarrassed, because they don't feel in gratitude to accept anything. You ever met people like that? You give them a gift, they go, no, I don't want that. Why did you do that? I really don't like getting gifts. Okay? And, you know, receive and give. You know, when we receive with the highest amount of gratitude. When we give with the highest amount of gratitude. But when you receive and you negate it, you literally trash it by saying, you don't like gifts. You don't like getting gifts. Then people say, well, you know, you got me a gift, now I got to get you a gift. And it's not about that. It's about giving because you want to give. That's it. But a lot of people are still in that old way of thinking that, well, it's expectations that, you know, they want me to get them something now. I feel so bad because I didn't get you anything. You ever had that? You ever said that? I feel so bad because I didn't get you anything. And then the person will say, don't worry about it. I got this for you because I wanted to give it to you. I wasn't expecting anything from you. And then, of course, they turn around, they get guilty. They feel guilty and undeserving and small and powerless. And that is due to programming, other people's thoughts programming. And this is a stage right now that this civilization is at, that many of us, and is just literally pick the direction, read the sign, go within, focus on the now through the breath, be in deep gratitude, eternal deep gratitude 24/7, be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times, and watch what happens. It's absolutely amazing. I'll join you in a meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the mouth, in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out of the mouth. Remain still. Your breath is a natural healing experience. Relax into this healing experience and allow yourself to accept a growing sense of peace within. No subtle sensations occur inside you by breathing slowly and consciously. This can be a deeply creative experience. The healing benefits for just a few short minutes of this practice are profound. Slowly breathe golden light up your spine and feel how it's opening you. Take this with you for the rest of the day into evening and night and following morning. And we'll return here Monday, March 27th, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the deepest eternal gratitude in all life.